There is a very uncomfortable truth with this whole social justice thing, I think, that I need to scratch around a bit. Basics first. There are poor, sometimes unfortunate, destitute, marginalized people in need in this world and in this country. As a Christian, my job is to love God, love myself, love other people, and part of that would be, it will work out in practice as helping those kind of people. But
Radio Nuwe Lied. Your Christian lifestyle radio station. Chat with Corné. We scratch where it itches.
Good day, all you beautiful people. My name is Corné. Welcome to Chat with Corné. Always nice to talk to you guys and hopefully to give you something to think about. Now, the chat with Corné obviously means that I'll do most of the chatting since I have the microphone, but you are welcome to share your opinion, send me messages, do any of that stuff. And you can do it in these ways. You can either send an email to this email address, or you may also use WhatsApp and Telegram to send messages to this number here, and then we can be in contact. Also, if you maybe discovered this channel only on YouTube, you would be unaware, but there is actually a whole platform where you can listen to a lot of things, not just me rambling about stuff. A lot of great content from a Christian worldview, mainly, and just some nice things as well. But go have a look there, see if there's something there that might interest you. So, for today, the thing about social justice. Like I said, we need to, we see eye to eye on a lot of things. If you are in the social justice camp, you've got this thing, it needs to happen, the church should do it, Christians should be involved. There's a lot of common ground there. We can both see the problem of these people in need, and we can both agree on that Christians should help. That's part of what we do. That's how love looks on the ground. It serves other people. My problem with this whole thing is the way I usually find it on media. And the way I usually find it on media is the perspective of there's people in these dire situations, and we, and in this country usually it means white people, are very privileged, and the situation is like it is. Somehow it's our fault, and we need to do this because it's the right thing to do. So that whole system I just want to dig into a bit. There's no denying history, and that history hasn't always been positive or righteous or fair or whatever you want to do. Fair is a strange word for me, not strange word, but we need to explain all this stuff. Because I do not necessarily believe in fairness. I think that's what part of the problem. Part of the problem is that people look at what's happening and they look at the problem of people in need and they say, this is not fair. Everybody should have the same. And I say, no, everybody should not have the same. It depends on what the circumstances are. It depends on why they are there. If they are there, and the reason, for different reasons, we should obviously get in there and help. Sometimes they are in a difficult situation and we should not help. And we'll talk about that now. But in this country, as Afrikaans white person, one of the things that gets to me is that we cannot go on forever asking forgiveness. We have done that. We've done that personally to people. We've done it as a ministry a long time ago. We've done that as on a national level for years. And as far as I know, there's never been acceptance of that. We are sorry. I mean, just after the elections and the change in government, the new democracy, all the things that people were very glad about, the government said this wasn't right. So we're going forward now in a different way. The churches came out and said what was happening wasn't wrong. We're sorry. Lots of people and organizations and political parties and church groups said, we are sorry. To my knowledge, I don't know any place where it's been acknowledged, like, okay, we hear you, it's okay, you're forgiven, let's go on. And I'm not looking for that necessarily, but just to say, it can't be this whole thing of, we're sorry, 30 years later, how far should we be sorry? And shouldn't we expect them, but I need somebody to say sorry to me as well, What about we ask the British people to be sorry, but what they did, and then they can ask the Romans, and they can go all, and we ask sorry up to Adam and Eve, because there you have a point. You can go speak to Eve and say, what woman? Any case, so that's my first thing. We all acknowledge that what happened under apartheid, let's call it that, for a time differentiation, there was a lot of wrong things there. So people said sorry, and because that's what happened there was wrong, you can't do the same stuff now to kind of make it right or compensate for that or whatever. If there is compensation, it should be in a way that it was supposed to happen, in my mind, with some of the laws regarding that stuff, like BEE. I think the intention originally, and even the agreement between people, was something totally different than what's playing out now. That's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about mainly, when do you help? When do you look at people in difficult situations in society and say, let's help here? Why do you help? Who helps? And on what grounds do they help? And who says? So the first thing, and this is very uncomfortable to talk about, because people want to, it's so easy to call somebody something ugly because you misunderstand the intention. So please listen carefully. Sometimes people sit in difficult situations because it is not just, it's not a flip of the coin. Now you might say, but I can't help that I was born this color, this time in the history, in this country. No, you can't. But we are not living in the moment only. We are a result of history. So, I'm going to give you the ground kind of foundational thought behind this, which is, because of Adam and Eve, if you believe the story, humanity sits with a huge crisis. We weren't there. We did not pick the apple. We did not say to the woman, leave the apple alone. We weren't there at all. But because of that historical event, sin entered the world, and we need a savior, and we believe in Jesus. If you're Christian, we believe that whole story. If you don't believe that story, on a practical level, you can just, the picture in my mind is whatever, or not whatever, but some things can happen that is not you directly. For example, if you are married to a useless husband, you will suffer the consequences of it. You're not involved in it like physically. You're not the useless one. But you will carry the consequences of being married to a useless husband. If you're in a country where the government is not that lekker, you will carry the consequences of that, although you yourself are not making the decisions. we are never just there and in a situation because of, it's not our fault, now somebody needs to fix it. So if I look at people that usually the government just want to throw money at for social justice, in my mind, you need to look at why they are there in the first place. Sorry, this is just a continuation of my previous thoughts, I guess. But if you think about the story in the Bible, not just this is the thing of, well, there was Adam and Eve, and because of that. If you think about the Old Testament, God gave commandments and His rules to protect His people and give them a kind of a way to be blessed. And He gave them this option. Here is what I expect of you. Now you can choose. If you do what I say, you will be blessed. And you can see it in your life. It will look like this. It will look like enough of everything and being happy and good families and blah, 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 the whole thing. This is what it will look like if you follow my commandments. If you do not do that, it will look like this in practice. You know the story of Deuteronomy. And a few different places. So there is definitely something that connects people to what they do will determine the way or where they are in life sometimes. Sometimes it's not your own fault. I'm not saying it's your fault necessarily. But there's the thing of generational. If your parents lived in a certain way that got them into a sticky situation, and you were born there, you will be the result of that sticky situation. But it's not society at large's fault. It's not the government's fault. It's not my fault. It is, in a way, your generation's fault, or in biblical terms, your bloodline that got themselves there. You are the unfortunate one of inheriting that. There is a way out of it. That's the good thing about Christianity. It is not you are there now, sorry. You can get out of there. And the answer is not socialism. The answer is not social justice in that way, in my mind. The other way that people can end up in a sticky situation is that they themselves do not live wisely. They believe the wrong things, or just start with wisdom. The whole book of Proverbs is there in my mind to help you and equip you and get your mind to work in a certain way so that once again you can live a blessed life. Blessed doesn't need to be financial wealth. Don't confuse the two. But if you live in a certain way, you can expect kind of a certain outcome of that. That is what Proverbs is about. So if somebody is in a sticky situation, you need to look at why they are there, and not necessarily their own fault, but where do they come from? How come a big chunk of society ends up in a certain place? What is the problem there? And one of the things in my mind, once again, that you need to hear that as an observation. It's not a judgment. And it's something that you can get out of. That's the good news about Jesus. You can get out of any sticky situation. There's a big difference in different belief systems. I did not realize this. I had to learn it. And just as there are different streams in Christianity, but overall they agree on certain things. In a similar way, there's a lot of different streams in African traditional religion, but they've got a lot of overarching things that they agree on. One of those things seemed to be that in the African way of looking at life, the worldview is that the universe is a closed system. There's only so much to go around, which means that if you do not have enough, the reason for that is the other guy's got too much. He is the reason that you do not have enough. It is a worldview. From a Christian perspective, it is not that. From a Christian perspective, it is we serve a God that's more than enough, and He has more than enough. There's no shortage. He doesn't need to take away from me to give to you. And He is my Father, and He can look after me. In a similar way, He can look after my children. He's their father too, and their provider. I don't need to even worry about them. From a parent's perspective, I raise them and I help them, and you do all those things that's kind of nice, parental, whatever you want to call it. But bottom line is, God looks after my children. They were given to me. It's His children, and He will look after them like He did with me. And so it's this two different viewpoints on how life works. And for that reason, I want to ask you to think about what you believe. How does life work? Is there a shortage? Do some people do not have enough because other people have too much? Or is there some other explanation of why some people do not have what they need to get by with? Now, so there's the two options of why people get to a sticky situation. The one is their own fault in a way. They lived in a way that got them there. The other one is you were kind of born into that. It's not your fault, but you are there, and it's not somebody else's fault either. And this is where personal responsibility in my mind kicks in. If you are there for reasons not your own, with or without help, because I'm not here advocating for not helping people. We'll get to that now. But personal responsibility says, with or without other help, I need to do something with what I have where I am now. The world does not owe me because I was born into poverty. And there's always good examples of that thing. I have met people in our country's context now. I've met older black gentlemen who are extremely wealthy. And it did not happen because of the entrepreneurship thing is of late. They were born and raised under the apartheid era, so whatever you think about that. They studied during that time at universities. They built businesses, huge businesses during that time, continuing up to today. I've met those people. You can call them lucky, you can call them a lot of things, but you cannot say because of this or the system they could not, because they did. The opposite is also true. I have this good example in my mind of at one stage we, Solidarity asked us to go do some kind of Christmas entertainment stuff at squatter camps, white squatter camps. And it was an interesting experience there for the first time. And after chatting to a few people and, talking to the organizers and kind of feeling my way around it, I came to the conclusion that sometimes life gives you a slap in the face and you are down and out for whatever reason. You end up in the squatter camp, but that's not home for you. It's this is where we need to be for now. Let's regroup. Let's do whatever. And it's a transition place. They move out of that again. They weren't born for that. They're not happy there to be there. They're glad they have a place to be at, and people bring them food there, whatever. But they don't belong there. They move on with their lives. Some people are there and they are as happy as clams. They thrive like a mushroom. Being there, being cared for, being looked after. And that is kind of the difference in my mind with personal responsibility. You can be in the same situation and some people will do something and go forward and some people will not. So, how do we help? If we do help, how do we decide? In that line, I want to talk about two more uncomfortable things, I guess. The one thing is, who do we need to help? In my mind, there's kind of from a biblical perspective, clear answers. It could be anyone, mind you. This is kind of big guidelines, but the things that the Bible mentions specifically is widows, orphans, and there's a reason for that. They cannot look after themselves. Widows, you can in modern life argue a little bit about, but you cannot ask children to look after themselves in that way. You might say, what about immigrants or people like that? My question with immigrants is, why are they here? If they are here illegal, why are they here? They shouldn't be here. They shouldn't be able to tap into the help system here if they are here illegally. I know some people won't agree with this. It's my opinion. Until we can help, if we wanted to help the people, say from wherever, country Z, we can send money there or help with some kind of resources there to help them there. If they are here illegally, why are they here illegally? If they are here legally, they should be here in a capacity to contribute to the society here, because that's what's expected of a citizen. I mean, you have to fill in forms this long to go to any country. You have to prove to them that you can be there, support yourself, work here, lists of things. And nobody thinks that's crazy. So it shouldn't be that crazy for people to say, but why are the people in this country that are not from here? If there's a good reason, then let them be here. If they are here and it's not for a good reason, they can't look after themselves. Why? Once again, this is not like a black and white stripe. It's guidelines. But the first answer should not be, these are immigrants, they need food and money, so give them food and money. That shouldn't be the first answer. If people are there for reasons that mostly common, in my mind, there's, for example, in our country, huge unemployment problem. Huge unemployment. So there's a lot of people in need. The first answer should not be, let's give them money, because where does that money come from? If government says it will give those people money, what they're telling you is, we are going into your pockets now, we're taking your money. The government doesn't have money. They take money from other people who earn money and give it to people that doesn't earn money. Now that is the nature of giving, but it can't be a reckless thing of just taking money and giving to people. So if people need money, first of all, let's look at the problem. The problem here, unemployment is big problems. There's a lot of people in need. So shouldn't the first answers be, so how do we fix the unemployment thing? So the answer can't be, let's just give out money, because that's the government's answer. Let's give out money. Let's give grants. Let's do all those kind of things. So let's get more taxes. Let's tax people harder. And let's take from the people that make the money and give it to the people that do not produce now. Shouldn't it be, won't it be a better answer if we start at, so how do we fix this problem? Can't we educate these people better? If they don't want to be educated, they can't get the help. On the thing of privilege, I'm old enough to remember when I studied formally 3 times in my life. For the first thing, my parents paid. Then I wanted to go study something else, and they said, we're not going to pay for that. So I had to study full-time and work full-time. the thought of tantruming about that never occurred to me, but it's kind of a thing now. If you can't get free education, you burn the place down. Surely that is not the answer. But so this is not about the practical kind of way of how do we fix it. This is just a general thing, once again, of if we look at the problem of people don't have, okay, the problem is unemployment. How do we fix that? We need to fix education. Those, to me, seem like more reasonable answers to just give out because it's social justice. These people never had, or their parents never had, so let's give them. No, is my answer. It is not even a Christian correct thing to do. Because that's the problem with just handing out. Think about this for a while. That's my problem with socialism. If you do not give people a reason to move from where they are now, and I'm not even necessarily meaning like a whip kind of thing, but maybe the people need a whip to move. If you do not incentivize for them to move, lots of people will not move at all. If you get money every month for not doing a thing, maybe except getting a child, if you get money for that, why would you kind of break that system and go do something so that you lose that money? It's the extreme example now of that, but that's kind of the concept. If people do not have a reason to be responsible, why will they act responsible? If you do not expect your child to look after his room, to be tidy on himself, to have manners at table, to do whatever it is, if you do not expect that of him, he will never act like that. There's no reason. If you don't expect more from people than where they are now, they will not move forward. I don't know what it is in people, but somebody needs to expect something from you to rise to that level. It is the way that humans are. The good title for that is empowerment. You actually empower people by telling them, listen, I expect you to not be this, not behave this way, or not do this, but rather do that. I expect you to do that. That's empowering. And if you incentivize their good behavior that they start with, that's the way that you get people to get to a better place. And I've mentioned this, but the only way that you can give to people who do not have is to take away more from people that do have. Now, there's also a big scratch point for me is, do the church and Christians, since we're speaking from that context, do we need to give? Absolutely. If you are a Christian, then this talk today is not your get out of jail free card. It's not about that. You should give in whatever way. It doesn't need to be money. It could be your time. It could be expertise. It might be all of it. I don't know. That's the other thing. Because we're not supposed to be forced to do anything, even if you are a Christian. For the government to look at things and say, but you are the church, you should. No. We do because we love God and we have received a lot of things. And therefore, we share that love of God with people and people in need. And in my mind, the way to do it is to have a relationship with the Holy Spirit, to ask, where I can see this need, what would you like me to do here? How much would you like me to give? What would you like me to give? In my mind, that's the way you do it. It should be part of your life, is helping. But it cannot be regulated. It's not the government's job to do that, in my mind. So with whatever you can find in your hands to do as a Christian, if you can do it, do it. You don't need permission. You don't need a committee or a church to give you permission to go look after people that do not have or that's struggling with something, and you can help them. And part of the help may be to get people to be more than they are now. And to take personal responsibility. Part of our Christian duty, for our own lives as well, mind you, is to just judge ourselves on, are we here because of something that we've done, or the way we live, or the way we look at the world? And we need to course correct. That's part of life. There's a lot of times that we got in our lives in a practical way to a place where things aren't working. What's wrong here? Is it a personality thing that we need to work on? Is it that we believe that we have the wrong knowledge, wrong beliefs? What's the problem here? And then you fix the problem, and then you move forward. And everybody can do that and should do that. So, that's my little chat with Corné, scratch where it itch thingy today. My problem in short: people are in sticky situations, and those people need help sometimes. Sometimes they are there because of their own choices. Sometimes they are there because of other people's choices. Whichever is true, the fault is never those other people. Life does not owe you. Nobody owes you. And the same way that somebody that you look at that is privileged in your mind, that person lives in a relationship to God with Him as Father, and is reliant on God to look after him, to provide for him, to guide him into wise decisions so that your life can look like that. That same God is available to any person in any situation to look to as his father or her father, provider, guide through this life, because it is not easy in life. And I think that one of the things that people forget is that nobody's got a smooth life. It might look like it from the outside because everybody's very good with putting on faces. But not the richest people have problem-free lives. We all have problems, it's different problems. And I'm not trying to downplay people in really difficult situations. So if you're a Christian, you should help. You should love other people, which in practice should end up with how do we help practically. That should be the thing. The answer is not let's hand out more, irrespective of whatever. So, I hope it makes sense, dear friends. If you are mad, then I'm sorry. But just please think about what I said. If you kind of like this and would like to hear more stuff or look at more stuff, then please like and subscribe here. Go to the radio platform, and then until next time, have a wonderfully blessed day.
Radio Nuwe Lied. Your Christian lifestyle radio station.